Look at him, shaking, soaked, sitting in a puddle that used to be his camp. It has rained for 14 days straight, and his fire is drowning in front of him, and there is no cave. Here is the fact that should scare you. Wet skin pulls heat out of a body 25 times faster than dry skin does. He does not need snow to die tonight. He needs wet, a little wind, and a temperature you would call a cool spring evening. That is a killer. So how is this man still breathing? Because he is. You are sitting here, which means somebody like him made it through. And the way he did it invented almost everything you own. The wettest, worst week of his life is where he builds the tools, the clothes, and the single strangest thing our species has ever done. So let's start with the lie you have believed your whole life. The cave. You have pictured this scene forever. A dry stone cave, a fire at the back, a family safe while the storm rages outside. It is one of the most wrong ideas we have about these people, and it is a trap laid by time itself. Caves preserve things. Bones, tools, ash all survive in a cave for tens of thousands of years. Out in the open, everything rots to nothing in a generation. So caves are where we dig and where we find stuff. And so we assume caves are where they lived. They mostly did not. Real caves are rare. In most places a human ever walked, there was not one for miles, and the good dry ones were usually already booked. Walk into the perfect cave out of the rain, and you were often not the first with that idea. Leopards had it too. In old cave floors in South Africa, human skulls turn up with 2 clean holes punched into them, matching the exact gap between a leopard's fangs. That was not a home, that was a larder. So no, when it rained, most of them had no cave. They had the open sky and their own 2 hands. So you build. And humans were building roofs longer ago than almost anyone guesses. The oldest we can point to are around 400,000 years old. That is older than our own species. And they were already clever. Branches leaned at a slant, so water runs off instead of soaking through. Leaves and bark laid in rows, each row lapping over the one beneath it. That is a roof tile. That is the exact trick sitting over your head right now, worked out by a brain smaller than yours with nobody to copy from. But the roof is only half of it. Where you put it decides if you live. Cold, wet air is heavy. It sinks and pools in the low ground. Camp in a dip, and you wake up in a cold puddle, losing heat 25 times too fast. Camp on a small rise, and the water drains away while you sleep dry. They knew this, not from a book, from watching the people who got it wrong not wake up. Now the hard part, keeping the fire alive. In the rain, this is the job that beats every other job. Wet wood will not catch. Wet tinder just hisses steam at you and dies. So survival meant knowing where dry things hide in a soaking world. The dead branches low on a pine stay dry while everything above them pours with water. You snap those off, you split a fat wet log down the middle, and the wood in the very center is bone dry. And then there is birch bark. Peel a curl of it, hold a spark to it while it is still dripping, and it lights. The bark is so full of oil it burns wet. A fire starter that works soaked through sounds like a cheat. It is not. It is the line between a warm night and a dead one. So one person's entire day could be this and nothing else. Feed the flame the dry heart of a log, shield it from every drip with a stretched hide, guarding a small fire like the whole group's life hangs on it. Because it did. But there is a nightmare hiding under all of this. If that fire dies, you might never get it back. Making fire from scratch, in the wet, with nothing but your hands, is savagely hard. Most people, most of the time, probably could not do it the moment they needed to. So the clever move was never to make fire at all. It was to never let it die. You carry it with you. And they had a tool built for exactly that. A tough woody mushroom that grows on the side of trees. You tuck a glowing ember inside it, and it smolders in there for hours, a hot coal riding along in your hand. A living lighter, made of fungus. And we know they leaned on this because of a man they pulled out of a glacier in the Alps. The ice had kept him whole for over 5,000 years. In a little pouch on his belt, he was carrying a full fire kit. That same tinder fungus. A lump of rock for striking sparks. Spare dry kindling for backup. 5,000 years ago, losing your fire was frightening enough that a man carried a survival kit for it every single day. I think about that pouch a lot. It is the most human object I know. A person terrified of the cold and the dark, refusing to be caught without a flame. So the fire holds, you are dry, and you still cannot step outside. So you make things. And this is where the rain quietly changed our species. Look at where the old tools pile up. Tiny chips of worked stone. Thousands of them. Right where somebody sat by firelight and shaped a blade for hours. But do not picture a cozy cave for this. The open camps rotted away, so the finds only cluster in the few shelters that preserved them. Most of this happened under a leaking roof of sticks, exactly like his. And they made astonishing things in there. Someone ground colored earth into powder in seashell bowls, mixing paint with a system and a plan. Then there is the needle, a splinter of bone, ground fine, with a hole drilled through one end. You do not carve that fleeing a predator. predator. You carve it sitting still, going nowhere, for hours. And the best one of all is string. Somebody worked out how to twist plant fibers into cord, and cord is a cheat code for a whole species. Cord ties a blade to a handle. Cord lashes a shelter together. Cord becomes a net, a snare, a bag. I have thought about that soaked board person twisting fiber more than is reasonable. Just some guy stuck inside inventing the thread that holds the entire world together. And the rain had a twist nobody expects. It was not only trying to kill him, it was feeding him. When the sky stays open for days, the ground comes alive. Earthworms get flooded out of their tunnels by the thousand. Snails come out. Frogs come out. You do not need a spear for any of it. You pick dinner up off the wet ground. And then there are termites. After heavy rain in warm places, an entire nest bursts at once into a cloud of fat-winged insects, pure protein and free. You grab them by the handful. Our closest animal cousins still raid termite mounds after a storm in exactly the same way. The same rain that shut down the big hunt laid out a completely different dinner. The groups who understood that ate well. The ones who starved next to a feast did not pass their genes along, which brings us to the strangest thing a wet, trapped human ever did. And for that, he finally goes into a cave, because deep inside certain caves, far past the entrance, far past any spot a sane person would shelter, there are paintings. Not scratches. Paintings. A lion mid-stride, muscles bunched, its head turning to look at you. Horses, rhinos, some at least 45,000 years old, the oldest pictures our species ever made. One detail about them I cannot let go of. These are not up near the mouth, where you would wait out a storm. They are hundreds of meters back, down black crawling tunnels in total darkness. Nobody lived down there, nobody could. To make them, someone filled a stone dish with animal fat, lit a wick, and carried that tiny flame into the deep dark on purpose. Then they lay in the cold, alone, and painted an animal from memory by a light the size of a candle. Nobody does that on a fine day when the hunting is good. You do that when the world outside is drowned. By then you have sharpened every blade you own and twisted all the rope you need. The roof is patched. There is nothing left in the whole wet world to do but crawl into the dark and make something beautiful. That is the loneliest, most human thing I have ever heard of. So go back to the man in the rain. Shaking by his dying fire, no cave, nothing but wet sticks and the worst week of the year. We look at him and see somebody losing. We are wrong. Under that leaking roof, he is keeping alive a flame his own hands cannot remake. He is stitching hide with a needle of bone. He is twisting the first rope. He is carrying fire into the dark to paint a lion. And some of what he says by that fire outlasts him by an amount that should not be possible. There are spoken stories in Australia that still describe a coastline vanishing under a rising sea. That sea rose 7,000 years ago. The story got told and retold for 7,000 years, and it never lost the truth. Then finally the rain stops. He crawls out into gray light into a world of soft, deep mud. And every animal that walked past in the night has left a perfect, unmistakable track. The rain never trapped him. It armed him. It handed him the quiet days to build, and then a fresh map of exactly where dinner went. You are inside right now, warm, dry, a little bored, watching this on a screen. He would not have wasted the weather, and that is the whole reason you are here to be bored at all.